Mhm. Hello everyone, what's up? So today I'm gonna be talking about, I wanted to talk about these two things named psychological and practical memory. It's just a distinction, of course, mind made, but I feel like it's a useful tool, a useful distinction to, you know, to kind of filter which thoughts are sort of just normal thoughts and which ones are clinging, which ones are identity, you know what I'm saying? So again, I usually do these videos like where I just pick a topic, I sit down and I press record and just whatever arises in that one take, that's the video. So excuse me if I take some pauses, but I'm really trying to like observe my own mind while I'm speaking and sort of speak from actual seeing instead of just reciting some memorized words. Does that make sense? Because I'm trying to like look so we can explore, right? I'll be asking questions. So watch this whole video because I kind of have in mind where I want to get with this, but we gotta get there. We gotta, you know, with our own pace, we gotta get there. So I don't know how long this is gonna take for me to explain or point at this, but be patient. And at the end of the video, I'm sure that it's gonna help a lot of people sort of understand their mind a bit better. So psychological versus practical memories. The first time I heard these terms was Krishnamurti. I've heard him talk about these things, and I didn't first get what it meant, but after a while of listening to him talk about it, I kind of sort of figured out what he was trying to point at, and I'm gonna try to. And when I found out what he was trying to point at, I was like mind blown because like this is one of those things where like I try to point my friends and people I know towards this distinction for so long, and I didn't have a good way to put it. So when I figured out what these two words are pointing at, I was like, oh, finally a good way to put it, you know, a good way to point, a good way to point things out. And yeah, before we get into exactly what psychological and practical memory is, this video will sort of also answer the question or like the common misconception people have that like, but I need an ego to function in society. I need to, I need to be someone to interact with people, to do things. I need to, does that, you know what I'm talking about? Like that, that cope, that like you need an ego to function, you know? It's a pretty tricky one, you know? Most people like really adopt that. Like I need an ego. I need it to survive. But now I'm gonna try to prove by direct pointing into your own experience. Again, don't look. This is a common thing. Don't analyze what I'm saying. You know, who cares who's right or wrong? Just be open. You know, look at what I'm saying, and if it serves you, fuck yeah. If it doesn't, who cares? No one cares. I don't have anything to prove. It's just like be open. That's how you learn. You know, like I'm over here speaking this because it arose because like I'm pretty hyped about this specific terms. But yeah, always just stay open. And yeah, that's a bit of an introduction there. But let's get into it. So what is practical memory and what is psychological memory? Practical memory is, as the name suggests, memory regarding how to do stuff, what stuff does. Like if I open the tap, water comes out, or like if I open the fridge, there's food in there, or like I know how to drive. Like if I'm a drummer, for example, I know how to drum. Practical memory, but it gets even more specific. Like let's say again, drumming. Drumming is fun, so it's practical to know what brings you enjoyment. What what's fun. That's practical memory. Like I'll give more examples, and I'll just give a lot of examples so it makes sense. Like, okay, um, I want to go to the pool. This is where the pool is at. What's my name? So when people talk to me, they can point at me with a word that points at this body, whatever. Let's not get too into that. Um, all the random skills you have to kind of remember them in a way, right? How to write, you know, how to speak. Language is a practical memory. Well, it doesn't have to be. See, now I'm saying it kind of what practical memory is, but all of these memories could be psychological, and I'm gonna get into psychological memory. So psychological memory is the memory that's sort of, it's like laced with identity, and it's sort of like a story about our lives, about others' lives, about whatever's happening, our experiences. So like, I'll give an example with Beyblade. Here I got a couple of Beyblades. Look at them. Hell yeah. Pegasus, El Drago. I brought some of the cool ones. And I brought this one because I'm talking about time a little bit. So, like, I don't know. Just want to bring these with me. But let's say, there's two ways I could, like, look at Beyblade. So, the practical way is, oh, I love Beyblade. It's really fun. When I play it, I enjoy it. I can practice techniques. I know my launching techniques. It's like, oh, it's something I'm into. I can go deep into this. It's fun. Or I can remember it like, oh, when I was a kid, I felt sad and Beyblade was like the only thing that brought me joy. And if anyone insults Beyblade, I'm gonna be offended. I love Beyblade. Beyblade is my life. It's my favorite thing. Are you seeing the difference, psychological versus practical? Like, it's not wrong to like stuff. See, that's the common misconception. Liking stuff is clinging, or like, that's just memory. That's just like, oh, this was nice. I remember this was nice, so I'm gonna do it again because it's nice. But when you identify with that, like, it's a part of your self-image, and that's psychological memory. And that's, someone offends it, you're offended, you resist what they said, you suffer. um you get what I'm saying? Like, let's give another example, like, of a psychological memory. Um, so practical memory would be kind of like, oh yeah, people can deceive you sometimes, so keep that in mind. Uh, it's, it's a weird example, but like, bear with me. And like, a psychological memory would be like, when I was at my first job, I got like scammed by my boss. So like, a couple of times, like a couple jobs got scammed by my boss. So like, all bosses suck. I don't like bosses. I don't trust them. Or like, I used to be abandoned by people in the past, so like, I can't trust people because people abandon. You know, one could be purely practical, like, yeah, some people deceive you, so just pay attention if someone's trying to scam you. Like, you don't need to like really cling to it. But the other is like, all people scam. Every person I see, he's just trying to scam me. That's maybe an exaggeration. Like, I'm not really, I'm just coming up with these examples. Um, because like, I'm just trying to get you to see what I'm trying to point at, like the way memory sometimes arises, right? Some of them are sort of like a story we tell ourselves, and some of them are just purely practical. Like, and I gave the Beyblade example because like, some people think that liking stuff is psychological memory, but it doesn't have to be if you don't cling to it. Like, again, Bleach. I like Bleach. Watching Bleach is fun. Thinking about Bleach is fun sometimes. Pretending I'm gonna do a Bankai with my sword is fun. But if I'm like, oh yeah, when I watched Bleach, I had so much fun. I'm a Bleach fan. I have so many friends who like Bleach. It's a big part of me, part of my childhood. And if you say something bad about Bleach, then I'm offended, and I'm gonna defend it, and I'm gonna resist anything bad said about Bleach. I'm gonna be mad and suffering, clinging to Bleach, resisting what is. You get what I'm saying? Not a good example. Kind of want to make this too long, but like, I'm just trying to say there's two types of memory. These two types, the mind made up that there's two types. Okay, don't like, it's not like a position, it's just a tool, you know, like you use a knife to cut meat, fruit, whatever. You use certain ideas or like what I'm saying right now to like help you see better. It's like, you know, it's like training wheels for seeing almost. Like at the end of the day, you can just purely see and notice the pattern. Oh, this memory makes me suffer. This memory is purely practical. But that might take some time to notice. And if I just point out that there's sort of like two archetypes of memories, some you identify with and some that are just purely practical, then I think it's easier to notice them, right? Because you kind of like know what you're looking for. And yeah, that kind of also resolves the common misconception that you need an ego to function. Like, do I really need an ego to remember where to get water? You know what I'm saying? uh, or like, what's my name? Like, it doesn't have to be an identity. It's just like a use. It's useful. It's useful to have names. Like, I'm not against names. Like, what do I call my friends? Hey, uh, I don't fucking know. Like, you know what I'm saying, like, don't hate the concepts. I'm not hating on concepts. Even in my previous video, I'm not hating on concepts or even the paths. They kind of have a purpose, you know, if you don't cling to them. They can help. They're like, I see these paths as like training wheels for your seeing, where like, until you're kind of confident in your own seeing and you see through the patterns or whatever. I'm not going to put too many names on it, but they're useful. They can be useful, but ultimately, most people I know just cling to them, like, and identify with them. Like, oh, this path really helped me. It gave me all these wonderful experiences, and following this path, you know, I saw it, and now I lost it, and I gotta keep following this path to see it, and like, blah blah blah. You know, the point of these paths is in the end to just stop clinging to them too. You know, you know, like the Buddha said it. I'm not gonna like quote him, like a lot of people want the quotes. Like, who cares? Just listen to what I'm saying. Who cares about? See, if you want me to like really reference spiritual teachings and like you don't trust it if it's not a spiritual teaching, that's just clinging to authority, clinging to hierarchy, clinging to teachings, clinging to a path. You know, it's all just clinging. Any complaint you can have is resistance, and it's clinging. Like the things that make you triggered are the things you cling to. The things that, no, that's not the perfect way to put it, but like the things that trigger you usually oppose the things you cling to. So they're like good mirrors, you know. If this pisses you off, that's a mirror. What about it pisses you off? You know what I'm saying? Use it, you know. Nothing wrong with that. Like, nothing wrong. I'm not mad at you. Anyone can be mad. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You can help it. Can anyone help it? You know, can anyone really help it? I can. I couldn't help it. Like, it just happened, you know. Like, and when I see people struggle, it's not like, oh, I have to like get them to acknowledge me. I'm like, yo, bro, you want to, can I just say something? Like, you know, like, genuinely just want to help people see, because freedom is awesome. You know, like freedom is awesome. Like, who wants to be trapped? That sucks. Well, not as a position. Don't cling to what I just said. Just don't cling to what I say. Can you, you know, like we take many positions in life. We always, you know, I'm sitting down right now, you know, but if I want to go home, I gotta get up. I can't get stuck in this position. Isn't the mind the same? If you want to move forward, you gotta let go of the position. Isn't seeing the same? If you want to see, you gotta stop. You gotta let it be free. Let the seeing be free, not locked in a position. It's like, sit literally. Right now I'm sitting. If I want to stand up, I have to change positions. I can't cling to sitting. You know, it's the same with your thoughts, same with your mind. So again, let me summarize: practical memory, just knowing how to do things, knowing what brings you joy, and yeah, just useful. Psychological memory, really strong identification. It's a story, you know. Actually, no, I want to keep going. I wanted to end it here, but like I kind of like wanted to enumerate even more. 'cause I just had a few thoughts pop up that like made sense to also include in the video. But like psychological memory is actually like a story, almost like a story that you remember about yourself. I like this happened, I like this, I went through these phases, these things were a part of it's like a that's what the past is, you know. Memory, it's just like a tendency, it's a conditioned pattern. Practical arises when needed, you know. Practical memory arises when needed. I don't think about how to open the tap until I have to open the tap, right? It's really practical. You don't have to use it all the time. But psychological memory is basically the past modifying itself through projecting itself onto the present moment into the future. So it's just the past lingering there as a loop of psychological memory, and it's projecting itself onto the present moment and then modifying itself into the future, modifying its idea, its narrative of what's going on. And that's obviously illusion because, like, who the fuck knows what's going on? I'm not saying I know what's going on. Like, god damn it. Like, can you see this? Can you just see this? Like, come on, can you just see this? Please. Not for me. See it for yourself. Because, like, it's so silly. Okay, this is not a good position with my dirty shoes. But like, yeah, that's, you know, that's pretty much it. Wanna look at the Beyblades again? Hell yeah. Fucking sick. So yeah, you don't need the ego to function. You can just have fun. You know, it's fine. Just don't identify with, don't cling to it. Like when it arises, and when it's not there, it's not there. You see how I said I don't try to open the tap when I can't, when I don't need to? Well, I don't think about having to Beyblade when I'm at work or watching Bleach. I give those two examples. I like those things. Um, you know what I mean? It's practical. You know, when I have free time and I'm like, oh, I want to do something fun. When that arises, and I'm like, what brings me joy? And then that memory arises. Oh, playing Beyblades brings me joy, and I go play Beyblades. Does that make sense? It's just practical. It's purely practical way to live. No ego required, no self. It just arises. It's almost like a sequence of memories arising without a self. And if someone says Beyblade sucks, they don't know what they're talking about. No, I'm just someone says Beyblade sucks, who cares? I like it. Doesn't have to be, you know, anything universally liked. Yeah, I just used Beyblades and Bleach to explain to you something. Whoa, is there like a squirrel here? No, it was just like a branch. Yeah, I just I just used the Beyblades to explain something. Pretty funny, right? Yeah, I hope that made sense. You know, I could keep going. I could infinitely like, over-explain this, point at it repeatedly. But like those who got it, I think they got it. I think they got it. I think you got that. You don't need the ego. I think you got that. Like those two types of memories you can notice. I think you kind of got how it works. I think I explained enough. So yeah, I'm gonna just go get some pizza because I'm hungry and play with some Beyblades. Peace. Okay, I'm back. I kind of forgot something I really wanted to talk about too in the same video, so I'm just adding this in after I already said goodbye. My bad. Um, but see, a lot of most of the times people think about stuff. It is psychological memory. Like I'm gonna give a bold assumption here, a bold estimate, but like 98% of times when people think about something, it's psychological memory. You know, like when something's happening, their mind is always commenting on it as this little character, right? This bundle of psychological memory we call the ego. You know, that character is like a narrator in your mind, and it's just going overload. I don't like this. I like that. That was bad. Why is this happening? This should be happening. I want to be doing this. I really love this. I'm really passionate about this. Why do I have to work? Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? That type of shit. And like, that's really draining. That's really draining, bro. Like, imagine that 98% of the thoughts people have are like completely useless wastes of energy that are perpetuating an illusion that causes us to suffer. Like, isn't that bullshit? You know? And like, that's why we need so much sleep and shit. Like, that's why we feel tired all the time. Imagine your mind is going overload all of the time with stories about what's going on. And this character, what it feels like. Sorry, I'm licking my lip. I got like a little canker sore. I can't really show it, but like, got a little thing going on because I bit my lip. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, just constant chatter about what's going on. Like, I may talk a lot in these videos. Like, you don't need to really talk to take a walk, you know, when you're alone. Or like, even when you're with friends, you can like sort of just chill. Let me just lean on this tree. Give me some support, Mr. Tree. You can just chill. So yeah, like, I've noticed that like the longer I've been paying attention to the mind and the more psychological memory that's been seen through, the less I think, the more clear my thoughts are, because practical memory is pretty clear and useful. There's not just this chattering in the mind. And the less sleep I need, the less tired I feel. So it's pretty nice. Like, it is pretty nice. Like, it's a waste of energy, you know. And since you're always chatting, it also affects how we see reality, how we perceive things, right? Because it's always through this commentator who's like telling us what we're seeing instead of what we're actually seeing, right? So it's you're always kind of seeing clearly, right? But then this commentator tells you what you're seeing and you kind of believe it. You know, I'm seeing this instead of just seeing, you know. Some people will get this. Some people will get what I'm trying to talk about right now. But yeah, waste of energy, makes you see reality not clearly. Well, you see it clearly, makes you think you're seeing something you're not. And yeah, it gets you out of the present moment. That's what I want to say. Because the past is always happening in the now. It's just the story your mind's telling itself through mental images and things that happened, and then it's trying to project it into the future, like what's gonna happen. So the future and the past are just like psychological memory. So yeah, there we go. That was the point I was trying to make. The past and the future are just psychological memory, kind of. You know, the story. It's always just right now, and some things are practical and we remember them and they arise. But then when we tell the story about the past or the future, that's kind of like psychological memory, isn't it? This is what happened, and this is what it means for the future or whatever. You know, I'm being kind of vague with this, but that's because it really is kind of vague in reality. When you look at it, it's just kind of bullshit. Not gonna lie, I'm just being real here. And like, yeah, take that as you will. I hope this video served its purpose. I hope you now realized the distinctions. I hope you can see it happening in real time, not just believing me, but looking for yourself, because you gotta look for yourself for this to make sense or for this to serve you. I hope you use it as a useful tool, what I've just said. And I hope you stop wasting energy on useless stories about nothing in particular. Thanks for watching, and yeah, now I'm gonna go get the pizza. Bye.